this hearing is vitally important to Connecticut and our country, and particularly so because the Magnuson-Stevens Act can be effective only if the latest science is brought to bear on decisions that are made, and only if the people who are affected by this law have representation so they can bring a real-world sense of what's happening to bear on these decisions. I have met often over the past years when I served as Attorney General and most recently as Senator last week with our Connecticut fishing community. I met with them in a town hall in Stonington and heard their perspectives and concern as they relate to the Magnuson-Stevens Act. And frankly, I strongly believe that the goals of conserving and rebuilding fish populations and promoting the growth of the fishing industry are two goals that should be and are compatible, not mutually exclusive. But unless the best science is brought to bear and unless the views of the fishing industry have some say, the system will run amok. And right now, it is running amok in their view. And I think their views are very persuasive and convincing. They tell me that the sea bass and flounder, among other species, have migrated north, are available in much greater abundance than ever before because of the effects of warming. And so the system that gives primary say in determining the catch numbers permissible to the Mid-Atlantic Council and Management Organization is not only inequitable but ineffective. And their industry is under extreme economic stress, and that matters to the entire state of Connecticut. The commercial and recreational fishing industries involve 6,600 jobs in my state and has an economic output of $763 million. These are numbers that are approximate, but even if they're off by a little bit, the magnitude of the effect is certainly significant. So my hope is that we can have smarter, more efficient targeting of resources in these programs and greater effort to take into account the effects of climate change and shifting fish populations and other environmental issues, and we can make this system work well for fishermen and protect and rebuild vulnerable species at the same time. So my question to you is, what can be done to take account of those moving fish populations? I know I'm probably stating it in imprecise layman terms, but the sea bass and the flounder don't speak our language anyway. They're just going to do what they're going to do based on water temperatures, and those water temperatures are driving more of them north. And here is the really egregious and unacceptable outcome. These fishermen are throwing overboard tons of fish that are dead when they hit the water. So they are of no use to anyone, least of all people who are hungry, literally hungry in Connecticut and around the country, who could benefit by having those fish available. So there is extraordinary unnecessary waste in this system right now, and I want your view about what we can do about it.
So there's two aspects of that question. One is on the science side, all the science that we work with is in this instance is done through the Northeast Fisheries Science Center, which serves both Connecticut and the Mid-Atlantic. So there is some uniformity there so we can make sure that the science views are not influenced by the technical geography of which council is managing it. In terms of the council, the actual management advice, as you know, the council boundaries are set by statute. There are some provisions, and you are absolutely correct that the stocks appear to be moving north. There are some other ones that are moving south. The fish are moving, and we're not sure why. We suspect it's climate change. That is going to create, over time, this may be the first of many of these kind of issues in which you have fish showing up where they traditionally weren't. And we have to set appropriate management measures, and these are issues that both the councils work with. Under the Magnuson Act, we have two main tools to do that. The council jurisdiction, as I said, is not something that we can change, but we can make sure that the New England and the Mid-Atlantic Council are working together. They do have liaisons. We have traditionally designated a lead council. In this case, it's the Mid-Atlantic. There's always the opportunity to change the lead council. I'm not sure that would be advisable here. But occasionally, we also require joint management plans. This happens a lot in the Keys, where the fish don't care, particularly whether they're in the north or south, whether they're being regulated by the Gulf Council or the South Atlantic. And we have a number of joint plans where we've asked the councils to work together on those kind of things. So all of those are options that are available as this continues. And my suspicion is this is not the only instance in which this is going to occur. Whereas the stocks are moving all over the country, and we'll see this happen more and more.
But you'd agree with me that the system right now has really run amok and needs to be set right.
I don't know how long-term this is. I do know that there are issues with new fishing opportunities in old fishing grounds, new fishermen, and we have to deal with those. We're working through the council process. I think the tools are there, but it is an issue that all the councils have to start facing.
And the fishing opportunities, to use your euphemism, which means to me there are fish to be caught, they're being thrown overboard, they're hitting the water dead, they're wasted, and fishermen are deprived of their livelihoods, and people's lives are diminished because they go unnecessarily hungry. Would you disagree with that summary?
I don't know that that is what's happening with summer flounderback sea bass. I know that that is one of the reasons we are very concerned about bycatch issues in general, that we would like to avoid those kind of wasted situations. And we do strive, we are required to minimize bycatch. I would rather minimize it by increasing fishing opportunities for those. I mean, if they're going to be dead anyway, we might as well look for opportunities to catch them.
In other words, increase the catch quotas.
If that scientifically can be done. These are thorny issues in terms of what the implications for increasing catch quotas might mean for others. You can't just increase catch quotas without there being consequences. It's often a zero-sum game. Somebody would have to decrease somewhere, and that's an issue traditionally that we work out through the council process, often where two councils meet together and try to reach an agreement on what should happen.
Well, I would just emphasize, for what it's worth, as a message to take back to NOAA and to all the agencies that have authority here, that science has a very important role to play. These decisions ought to be fact-based and founded in good science, but clearly in the real world, what's happening is unacceptable because fishermen are losing livelihoods and people are losing food that otherwise could be extraordinarily nourishing and healthy. And I want to make sure that we in no way compromise the goal of preserving and enhancing the populations of fish consistent with good environmental science, but common sense dictates a change here. So thank you.